she starts screaming at me from 0 to 1,000, like, if you don't put it in your bag, I cannot continue. And I started crying because I was so overwhelmed. I was like, I just came back from Japan and I'm already being bullied.
I feel like in Germany, it has gotten to a point in maybe like the States where people are like, yo, this is what I feel like, what I think like, and accept it. And if it hurts you, if it affects you negatively, I don't care. Like, deal with it. Like, that's your problem. And it's like, to me, going too much the other direction, like not caring about the others anymore, but just being about myself. And like, I have to be me. I don't have to care about what anybody else feels like. If it affects anyone negatively, that's their problem. They have to deal with it, not me. Design to me is not art, and art is not design. It's similar and it overlaps to a degree, but it's, to me, two different categories, two
Wait,
different
then
disciplines.
what is design then for you? Hey guys, welcome back to the 4th episode of my podcast, the Kotodama Podcast. Today I have a guest with me who is a founder and a creative director in Tokyo. And both of us actually come from the north of Germany, very, very close to each other actually, which is funny. I just met him.
Yeah.
Did I meet you? I think I met you this week. Oh my goodness, it's still Sunday. Yeah,
Oh,
I
it's
met
still,
him.
yeah, this week.
Yes, I just met you a few days ago, and I want to thank you and welcome you to my podcast. And yeah, this is Louis Gersten.
Yes. Thank you, John, for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. And yeah, I still can't believe it's only like, what, 4 days maybe, since we got to know
My
each other.
goodness. Yes.
Yeah, I think it was like on Thursday. Today is like Sunday, so that was very fast turnaround on this. But yeah, pleasure being here. Having another German to be interviewed by in Tokyo is a rare occasion to come by, not gonna lie. But
It
yeah,
was
I'm
so
looking forward to our
funny.
talk.
Yeah, thank you so much. I mean, it was so funny because we were at this event, which I am not going to name here, but it was an event in Shibuya. And so we both met there. And there was another German as well. And it was just the three of us and we were talking. And it was so funny. I was like, what are the odds? Like, I don't know. It's funny. And also, what are the odds that we're from a city? Because I'm from Bremen and you're from, or Bremen in German, and you're from Bielefeld, which is kind of close. So it was just a weird coincidence. I don't believe in coincidences, but I think that was a sign. And so you're a founder in Tokyo. And so I guess my first question would be, why are you here?
Good question. And kind of a long story, but I'll try to keep it a bit short so we can talk about other stuff as well. So it started I came in 2023, so 2 years ago now. I've been living here for 2 years. And back in 2023, beginning of the year, I think it was like February or something, I went to New York trying to get a visa there because I wanted to move out of Germany. I've been wanting to move out of Germany since I was like, I don't know, 16. And tried to go to New York. I did go to New York, tried to get a visa there. And first day I was there, I was sitting in the metro, right? And I was sitting right on the edge and the doors were closing and I just saw someone like sprinting in with like a skateboard and just like making it just the last second. And so just regular New York stuff, but like, or big city stuff, I guess. And I saw that dude and I'm a skater. He had a skateboard and I went to New York and I was determined to skate there, but I didn't bring my skateboard. I only brought like the trucks and the wheels. So what you put under the wood. And I am very picky when it comes to anything, like buying stuff, people in my life, whatever. And that includes, of course, my skate gear. And I have been riding a certain Japanese brand since I started skating almost, which is it's called Evisen, like Evisen. And that person that jumped in onto the train, they had a board of that brand. And I didn't know where to get it in New York. So I was like, okay, maybe I should just ask them. And they were sitting right opposite of me, right? And I'm often, to be honest, more of an introverted person. So I was sitting there for like 2 stations, looking at him, looking at the ground, looking at him, and being like, should I go and ask him? Should I just go and ask? Because I'm kind of, I don't know why I'm like that, but I'm kind of afraid sometimes. And I was sitting there and just looking at him all the time. And I was wearing, mind you, I wasn't looking like a skater. I was wearing like a suit, like my blazer and everything. Then at some point I stood up, went over to him, and that person was rather like small, of small stature, like, I don't know, 160, 165, and I'm, for Germans, not tall, but like average, like I'm 183. So, and that person was sitting, and I was standing right at the edge, right next to him, looking down like that. And he looked, I probably looked intimidating as hell, and he looked like so scared, and he was sitting there looking up at me, looking down, looking up at me, and was like, he probably thought like, what is happening? And then I just asked him like, oh, where did you buy the board? Because I want to buy the same brand. And he was like, no English, no English. And I was like, hold your phone. Because coincidentally, like maybe like 3 months before, I started learning Japanese on Duolingo with the sole purpose of trying to understand anime without subtitles. It didn't work, but now it does, but back then it didn't work. So I was like, hold your phone. That's not a Japanese person that I'm talking to, right?
Oh my
So
God.
what I learned in that time though was, 日本人ですか? So for anyone not speaking Japanese, I was asking like, are you a Japanese person? Are you Japanese? And I asked him that in Japanese, like probably the worst and most broken Japanese ever. And he just looked at me and he went like, hi, hi. And he seemed so relieved. And then I was like, I was thinking like, okay, what does bye mean? And then I figured out, it's kao, it's kaimashita. And then I asked him like, deck. And I pointed at his skate deck. I was like, deck, where? Kaimashita ka? And I was like, just mixing like random English and Japanese. And he then told me, oh, it's from Japan. He just said Nihon. And I was like, okay, I know that word at least. And I was like, ah, damn. Because, of course, then I didn't get an answer to my question. But I was like, okay, I still wanted to talk with him because I was like, I was hooked because I started just learning Japanese, and now I have this Japanese person right at my fingertips, and I never had that in my life. Like in Germany, especially like smaller towns and more rural areas where I'm actually from, like I'm from a rather small town, not even Bielefeld, but Bielefeld area. And you don't really you see foreign people, don't get me wrong, but Asian people are very, very rare to come by, I would say, at least in my area. And so I was super happy, and I wanted to like keep in touch with him. And then he asked me, I think he wanted to go to a certain station. I forgot which one it was. And we were going downtown, and he was like, yo, where's this station? And I told him like, oh, we're going downtown. You need to go uptown. So he was riding the wrong train the whole time for like,
My
by now,
goodness.
I
He
don't know,
was just
10 minutes or whatever.
No, do you see? It was like, it was literally, it was meant to be. He was just there
Yeah,
sitting on the wrong train just
exactly.
for you to. That's so funny. I'm also sure, basically, by the way, to
Yeah.
interrupt you for a second, like, I think I'm so sure that he was so happy that you knew that he was Japanese, because for the first time in New York, he was like, finally, people don't think I'm Chinese. I'm sure that went through his head.
Probably, yeah. That is true. That is true. That is very
Yeah.
true. Yeah. Yeah. So then I told him like, oh, you need to go the other way. So I told him like, okay, let's get off together because I actually need to get off here, and I'm gonna show you where to go to get to your spot. And then I was like, yeah, do you have like Instagram? He gave me his Instagram, and then I just contacted him again, and we just started skating for the next 4 days in a row. We just went out street skating to parks and whatnot. And he could barely speak English. Again, he said like, no English at the beginning. And I could, of course, barely speak Japanese, if at all. I wouldn't call it speaking Japanese. So it was kind of difficult to communicate, but we kind of somehow made it work with like translator apps and like pointing and shouting and like being like, whatever. But I was like, okay, I never thought I would be able, or I never considered living in Japan, mainly because of the like language barrier, right? But then I noticed we somehow made it work, even though I couldn't speak Japanese and he couldn't speak English. So I was like, and he's I think he's originally from Osaka, but now he lives in Kobe. And I was like, okay, probably the people in Tokyo can speak at least a little bit better, or like there's more people that can speak English. So I was like, well, if I go to Tokyo, maybe it's going to be a bit easier. Plus, now that I have that idea, I can prepare myself properly. So I came back from New York, didn't get a visa there, obviously. And then I think right the next day I started like preparing everything, figure out like how can I get to Tokyo?
What? That's
Yeah,
crazy that you just made
yeah,
that decision in one day. I mean,
yeah,
wow. To me, like when I look at this from like a spiritual perspective, because I'm very spiritual, I'm
yeah.
just like, wow, it was such a sign, and you kind of just you were just riding with it. You were like that, yeah, this is I guess
Hmm.
what's happening now. Like, I don't know, it's such a perfect example of just riding the wave. I think a lot of people they get the same inklings about things, but they will never ride the wave. They will just question
Act
their
on it.
intuition,
Yeah,
and you just followed
yeah,
your intuition. That's so crazy. I love that. And then you came
yeah.
here.
Yeah, and I'm happy about it. Like again, I made it happen within like a month. Then of course I needed to wait for what's it called, like the certificate of eligibility or whatever, to get like
Yeah.
the visa and whatnot, to apply for the visa, I think. And so I knew half a year before I moved here, I knew that I will move here. And I took the time to learn Japanese as much as I could. I bought like the textbooks and everything. So I skipped Duolingo. I bought the textbooks. I bought a different app. Um, it's called Wanikani, for maybe you've heard of it,
I
for
know, yeah.
kanji learning. And I can just, in case anyone here wants to learn kanji, Japanese, um, I can recommend that app. It's like, I don't remember how much it is a year, but just try it out. You can try it out for free. So that we're not sponsored. This is just like me sharing some
I wish I was
some
sponsored
insights.
by Wanikani.
Oh, let's go. We could ask them.
Soon. I have
Yeah,
some
let's
goals.
go. Wanikani, please. The
That's
Crabbigator, or
amazing.
what is it
And
called?
but then I guess you just kind of like then you came here and we met in
Mm,
Tokyo obviously a few days ago.
mm.
Um
Yeah.
but but so now you're a founder and a creative director and you have your own company, am I correct?
Yes, yes.
So
So,
that's
yeah,
amazing.
sorry.
No,
Thank
that's
you.
just so cool. And like, does this mean that your company artwork, was that founded in Germany or in wherever you were, or was it founded here in Japan?
So, technically in Japan, but spiritually in Germany. So, because here's the thing, I've been doing freelance work since my uni days, and always on the side. I never did it full time. And I've been working in Germany full time for I think 7 years, and then I moved here. And I as a freelancer in Germany, because of laws and everything, you have to use your own name as the company name. You
What?
can connect it with some other words, yeah, but you have to have your own name in the company name. So my I don't even know what my company name back then was, like Louis, no, something something, I don't remember, or something Louis, I don't remember. But you have to have your actually full name in the company name.
That's so
And
German. There's those
yeah,
rigid
it
rules.
is, it is. But you can, like on your website and whatnot, you can present yourself as a with a different name. It just has, for legal reasons, and when you write invoices and whatnot, you have to have your like name with your company name and
I
connect
see.
it and whatnot. So yeah, very German, as you said.
Yeah.
And I always had this idea of calling it artwork, because back then, even more than now, I would say, I was more in the artistic side of things, like not, of course, design, but I tried to make it artistic. And design is not, to me, I know there's probably going to be people who are going to disagree, but also people who are going to agree. Design to me is not art. and art is not design. It's similar and it overlaps to a degree, but it's, to me, two different categories, two
Wait,
different
then
disciplines.
what is design then for you?
Design to me is something that you plan that is based on more or less rules, and there is actually some rules and principles you have to or should abide by to make it work. Design for me is more of like it has an intention, an effect that is not intrinsic of the designer, but it tries to design for other people. While art for me, of course you can do art to evoke certain emotions in other people, but art for me is more an emotional expression of the artist, and design is an expression or like design of a product or whatever for the people and not for the artist. That's where
Wow.
I see the differences.
Wow, I've never thought about it that way. That's crazy. That makes a lot of sense because obviously, I mean, I don't know, I'm sitting at a table right now, so I guess you could have that as an example, but that's true because a table in and of itself, the design of a table is not necessarily is actually probably almost never the expression of the person who designed it necessarily. It
Yeah,
was more like, hey, can you
probably.
please design a table that looks similar to this, or maybe it should be, I
Yeah.
see. Okay, that's so interesting. And like, and I visited your website. So
Hmm.
I just looked a bit at it, and I loved how in the beginning when you land at the landing page, it's kind of like you're talking directly to the reader, you're talking directly to the
Yes.
customer, and I love that. Like it's this immediately I felt like engaged. I know you have a marketing background as well, and me too, actually. Um,
Yeah.
but I think that's so cool. How you just directly talked to people in that first prompt already. Like, I mean, the
Yeah.
first moment you land on your page, it's like a connection. And obviously the design looks amazing. I'm just like, while I have you here, I'd love to
Yeah. No,
ask
thank
you,
you.
what's your thought process there? I mean, does it just come naturally? Because you have very great, like, I don't even know if my English is now Japanese, but in Japanese we say like sense ga. Like you have a great sense
Mm.
of like what looks good. And where does that come from?
Well, first of all, thank you. Really appreciate it. And that's actually a very good question. So I would say, to a degree, and that probably comes from my mom, like an innate, not, I don't want to say it's a talent because it's not, but like more of an ability, so to speak. But like you probably heard of like the designer's eye. And I think it's with any ability, any talent, any skill, there can be people who have a slight advantage just by their, I don't know, genetics or whatever, or just like how they've been raised. I think if you've been raised in a very design oriented environment, you probably will have a very different view on design and a very different eye for design than someone who hasn't. And I think that is kind of what happened to me, because especially my mom is also very design oriented and loves design. Maybe not always the same design that I do, but it does coincide a lot. So I think I got a lot of that through her, but it took me quite a while to, I don't know, awaken it. I think when I turned like 16-ish, maybe a bit later, I got into fashion as like my first design category where I really paid attention to it, to like the intricacies. And I was put onto that because of my mom, and that's where things got even, I don't want to say worse, but because I got too much into design, but where things started to just evolve into very different design directions. And again, so that is like my starting point, and I think I got a good starting point because of mainly my mom and my environment then. But the rest is just I started graphic design when I was 13. So more than over half of my life now I've been doing graphic or like design overall. So it is a thing that comes with time as well. Just like, and if I had any designs, I would share them with you, like from back in the day, because they were just not good. They were horrible. But I
My
thought they
God.
were dope. But
At the
compared
time.
to now, it's like,
No,
oh God,
that's so
what did
cool
I
that
think?
no, what you're saying is just so interesting because obviously I'm not a designer. I don't know about that, but like I felt that way with my podcast because I always knew I wanted to do it, but
Hmm.
then I was like, no, it's not perfect enough. I need the perfect setup. I need the perfect camera. I need the perfect microphone. I need the perfect,
Hmm.
and that kept me from starting, which is so bullshit. So I think like people
Yeah.
who are actually very, very perfectionists, I think it can
Yeah.
often hold you back. And I always tell this people, but it really moved me. I don't know if you've ever heard this, but I read this on LinkedIn before. I'm sorry, I don't know who wrote this, but someone was like, if your product is perfect once it's out, you've released it too late. And I was like, oh my
That's
goodness,
true.
that's so true. And
Yeah.
one of my good friends, he was like, um, just put your podcast out. The first episode doesn't have to be perfect. By the way, nobody will listen anyway. So why are you scared? The first episode, nobody will see. You know what I mean? Like in the long run.
Kind of true.
So
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, true. So I love that mindset that you're like, but at the moment you did it and you designed the first draft. So the first, I guess, your first works, it was in that moment you were like, this is genius. I'm really coming through here. Like, or whatever you were thinking. I can
You don't
imagine.
even know. I was doing a YouTube channel with my friend, and again, I was 13, so I was still with the baby voice, like that. Hi, my name is Louis kind of voice, right? Like super high, the baby boy that I was, and I started doing like everything, like Blender, for like 3D design and whatnot, and I legally downloaded Photoshop back then to try it out. Um, and I did like the banner designs for the YouTube channel and the thumbnails and the profile picture and everything. And I thought I was doing God's work there, but I was not. I was not.
So
But
funny.
yeah, so over time, of course, you sharpen your skills like with any other skill. And I I do it's still going back to your first question, like if it comes naturally, I still it takes me quite some time to design something. Of course, and I think every designer can relate to that, or every artist when it comes to your own like portfolio or website, which in that case it is, you look at it at a very different angle. First of all, you're way too knowledgeable about yourself. You know everything about yourself. So you think everything you know, obviously everyone else who visits your website or whatever or your portfolio knows already, but they don't. So that's a big trap. And of course, as you mentioned, like perfectionism, I think every designer has it, and a lot of people who just enjoy doing their own stuff, like you with your podcast, a lot of people have that. And I think, as you mentioned it, it also can be a sort of, for lack of a better word, excuse to start something that was maybe scared of. But at the same time, it's also like, yeah, of course you want to do your best work because who doesn't? Like, oh, that doesn't make any sense. Like, why would you not want to
Yeah,
do your best work? Imagine
true.
how
That
cool it
makes
would be
sense.
if you could just do your work and it's like 100% perfect, just how you imagine it. But that's not very unlikely. Maybe someone can do it, but I don't know anyone who did it up until now. Like, this is not
No,
kind of
that's
myself
so
on
true.
mimifying or whatever you say.
Yeah, and also like I mean, now you did actually evolve so much probably in your design
Mhm.
journey and art journey and then like in 10 years you will look back at this era of your life and be like, what the hell was that?
100%.
But at the same time it's like isn't that like there's no end, right? The journey is the goal or whatever. So it
Yes.
is kind
Yes.
of like you just have to kind of, and I think in every profession, in every creative, every founder that I've talked to, every person who does something, anything that they put out there, I think it's always brave people. You have to be so brave to do that because, like, you're putting yourself
Hmm.
out there. The other people, most people, they don't put themselves out there like that. And so, of course, we can look at something and we can judge and we can be like, this is not really what I like or whatever. But at the end of the day, like for that person, it's like their baby. It's something that they
Hmm.
created. And so I
Hmm.
think it's like, it's so I don't know. I have a lot of respect for people like you and people like who are creators in any way, in any capacity. It doesn't matter what form of creation it is, because this is my form of creation, you know? And
Exactly.
so I've dealt with I wonder if you have dealt with something similar, but I often felt like I had to put myself in a box. Like for me, my passion is actually talking and listening to people, like having conversation. And I was like, that cannot be a passion. Like, that's weird. Like, people's passion has to be something definable or like mainstream or normal. Like, people, I don't
Mm-hmm.
know, some people are passionate about cooking, or some people are passionate about fashion or designing, or like some people are passionate about music or something. But I felt like my form of passion was not okay because it's, until I realized, no, wait,
Mm-hmm.
okay, that it is okay. Like, I don't have to put myself in a box or have a passion that other people seem as normal. I don't know. Does that make sense? So
It
have you ever
does. It
felt that
does.
way in society? Like, have you ever felt weird and as if like your form of passion and your form of expression doesn't really fit in or something?
And so, first of all, I agree with you. Respect to every creative or even non-creative person who puts themselves out there. Just like for any influencer, it's scary. It's super scary. So shout out to all of you. Big respect to all of you. And I hope you, Janam, also have that respect for yourself. I'm sure you do, but just like showing some
Thank you.
self-love.
Thank
Um,
you.
and of course, respect to you from my end. And now to your question. Yes, definitely. So as I mentioned in the beginning, I'm not from Bielefeld directly, but like outskirts, not even outskirts. It's not even part of Bielefeld or whatever, but smaller town, maybe city. I don't know. But not too many people. And I'm also mentioned like my fashion journey started when I was like 16, and I think that was like the finishing years of high school, right? Like right before my Abitur. Um, and I really got into more out there fashion, like not the typical what's on trend right now fashion. And I was, from what I could have seen, the only person in that city that was looking very different. And it it did actually, because the thing is, I was scared about doing that. I've been interested in exactly that style of fashion a year earlier already, but I never bought into it because I was so scared of what people would say. And the reason why I'm saying my mom got me into that is because we actually went shopping together. We tried on stuff, and I was like, "This is so sick! I love this." And she was surprised that I was saying that, because you have to see, before I was doing a lot of sports, and one of my main sports back then was basketball, and I was always, summer, winter, whatever the weather, I was always running around in basketball shorts and a t-shirt. That was my fashion style for like, I don't know, 15 years or whatever. And then my mom was even surprised that I like all this stuff, and she was like, "Okay, you know what?" And it was quite a lot of money because it was a lot of stuff. She was like, "Okay, you know what? I'm actually gonna buy that for you, but you have to wear it." And I was like,
Oh my
"Okay, I do
God.
want to have it." And she's gonna buy it for me,
Oh
but I
my
have to wear
God.
it. So I was like, "Okay,
Yeah.
let's do it." It's like done deal. And I just started wearing it. And I did notice, of course, people were looking at me. I even heard people like literally behind my back talking about me. And it hurt. I'm not gonna lie, it hurt a lot. But I was like, I like this. And I told my mom I was gonna wear it because she bought it for me. So it kind of gave me some positive pressure. And that, in that sense, I felt very, very um not part of the regular society, like not in the sense of like, oh, I'm better, but like I didn't feel like I was able to fit in. But I luckily also had friends who were completely okay with that. Of course, sometimes they
Thank
would make fun
God.
because it's like a weird fit that I was rocking, and they were like, "The fuck, did you like poop your pants or not?" Because they had like a uh deep
I know what you
crotch,
mean.
and I was like, haha, yes I did, so what, kind of ish.
Yeah, just
And
rolling with it.
yeah. And that was fun because they were my friends. It was a very different energy that they put out when saying that. If some random person would have said that, of course they would have come at me at a very different way.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's how I started to stop giving a damn
Yeah.
about things,
Yeah.
and that helped me a lot in my personal development.
Wow.
So I definitely had that feeling of not fitting in, I would say.
Honestly, your mom is a parenting genius. What she did there is so genius because she basically, she
Yeah.
not just obviously paid for your stuff, which is cool, but also she forced you to really positively pushed you, I should say, into
Mhm.
really being yourself. And that's
Mhm.
so rare. Like for me, it was always difficult because I was like an emo goth punk kid
Mhm.
when I was a teenager. So
Yeah.
it was opposite for me. Like, don't wear this, don't do this makeup, and I was like, I was such a rebellious child. So I just went out. I had this crazy hair, the scene
Yeah.
girls. Now I think it's coming
Yeah.
back a bit, but it was like at the time, it was not cool. So, I mean, it was cool for me, but
Yeah.
it was not cool for society. So I was like, no, I'm going to wear this. And they were like, no. So I would go out and we had like an elevator in my apartment building and I would go in there with
Yeah.
and it had a big mirror. So then I would just
Mhm.
do my hair anyways how I wanted it to, like really like
That's
crazy, and then go
there's
out
a
like that.
spirit, yes.
Because like I would
Yeah.
never listen to my parents when it came to my
Yeah.
style. And you know what? It's funny. And obviously, I come from a Turkish family, and they're much more conservative, maybe. But now, actually, looking back at it, my mom, she said like, "Yeah, Janem, I mean, you were never normal, but isn't that also cool?" And so now she's kind of like on board with it. And I think I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
So I often say like children actually teach their parents because I feel like the newer generations from like a universal point of view, I see it as like
Mhm.
the evolving of the collective consciousness, like the new souls that come through onto this planet. I mean, that's how I see it from a spiritual perspective. It is like they have to go against the grain. Like it has to be different. And
Yes.
then now we're having the new wave of, I don't know, Gen Z and Gen Alpha, and I don't know what they're doing, but like, and what our children one day, or how, that next generation is going to be. But I think that's so cool that you had that kind of support from your mom because it's rare.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I had that too. And when I was outside and like people would say shit about my outfit and and it would hurt me too. But I was like,
Mhm.
this is who I am. This is my creative expression. And I had like my friends who were also with me on that. So that was cool. But I wanted to ask you actually about vampires. Sorry, because like I was a big vampire girly. I mean, I was one of the first ones who read like when Twilight first came out and nobody knew about it. I was like the first wave of people who read Twilight because I was 13.
Let's
This is
go. Wow.
18 years ago. Um, but so obviously Twilight and then other vampire stuff. I read a lot of vampire books. I loved vampire like gothic kind of artwork. Do you
Mhm.
remember Victoria Francis? I'm sure you know her. Like when you Google and you will be like, oh, this is the artist. So it's a Spanish, I think she's Spanish. It's a Spanish artist, Victoria,
Yeah.
and then Francis, I think with an E in the end. And she has these very,
Let
very
me check that out.
famous like vampire gothic artwork that, oh my God, I love that woman. Like all her artwork was all over my walls. And I was like obsessed with her. Like, she does these Victorian beautiful vampire like drawings of women crying
Yes.
blood
Yes.
and like but I'm just saying that because when we met a few days ago for the first time,
Yeah.
I saw you were wearing a vampire shirt and then I talked to you about reading what's it called? Bram Stoker's Dracula, and like I'm obsessed.
Yes. Yes.
But so what's your connection though to vampires? Sorry, this was a big it kind of came around, but
I'm not gonna lie. And I don't. I'm not even trying to be pretentious about anything. That is one of the things that I just started to get into because of the aesthetics. I just like it. It's just to me. It just looks dope. I mean, of course, I had contact with like vampire, the theme of vampires, vampirism, and whatnot through movies before. Even as a teenager or like a um older kid when I was like, I don't know, 10, 11 or whatever. And was watching, what was it back then? Supernatural and stuff like that. And where you had like through media you knew like vampires, but back then most of them, except for maybe like Twilight and things like that, they were like these weird like huge monsters, which I also thought were super cool, like super sick. And over time it just came I just came to like it more. And I remember in my grandparents' not hometown, but where they live now, which is not too far off of my hometown. They had like I don't even know how you say that, but it was kind of like a damn, how do you say that? Uh, let's say it was like an old house from like the, I don't know, 1700s or whatever, like a huge house where they had like a little
I see.
almost museum kind of vibe
I
with
see.
like different animals. And in the like they had one, I don't know if it was maybe like a clock tower or whatnot, where you could like go up all the way up until the roof. And right below whatever was up top there, maybe it was a clock, I don't remember.
Wow.
They had like bats there. And that just was so cool to me. And I was like, and you could see them flying around sometimes, depending on the time you were there. And I was like, this is so cool.
Wow.
And I just started to get into that mainly. And I'm not gonna lie, it's because of aesthetics. And I just think bats look cool, vampires are cool. They're just sick. And then if you think about it, the concept of the bat and some of them being or mainly using like sonar to just fly around and hear like these little insects that I probably can't even see with my eye. They're just seeing them, I don't know, flying around everywhere and just swoop in and catch them and just eat them. And it's like,
It's
how the
so
fuck,
crazy.
how do you do that?
Wow. Yeah, no, I know. Like, I just was gonna say vampires. Bats are so cool. Um, Basically, when I was living in London, I would go by this like foresty kind of. I had like a park, but it was more like a forest. It was weird. Like you would go into like one little side street, all of a sudden you were like in the jungle. It felt like, and so in
Okay.
that foresty vibe, whatever that was, um, there were so many bats, and they were flying
Hmm.
around like at night. At first, I was like, it was weird because I was out there at night alone, and I would like look at the sky, and there was like the moon. It was so eerie.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
these bats would fly by, and I was like thinking, somehow they look. So I didn't realize it was bats. So I was thinking like, these birds look kind of weird. And then I realized they're bats, and it's like, it's this eerie feeling when you have you, for anyone who's listening who's ever mistaken a bat for a bird, or a bird,
Hmm.
which I don't know how the sentence goes, but basically it's kind of shocking, and it's a bit scary in the beginning. Um, but I mean, what you said there with the aesthetics, it's not, it's okay. Like I don't know why
For sure.
people think to like something because of aesthetics is vain. It's not. It's not
Hmm.
shallow. Like, it is actually very deep. I see a lot of depth in people's design choices, and in people's like
Hmm.
choices of style or something. Like, for example, today I wore this pink shirt, and because I love this kind of like, it reminds me of something. And it reminds me of like my girlhood. Like for me, I love pink, for example. I love all kinds of
Yeah.
colors. But it's like, for me, it's like, yeah, of course you could just say, yeah, I just loved how it looks like, but there's always a reason for that. And I'm very interested in that too. So whatever you described there with that clock tower thingy, I want to be there. That
Mhm.
sounds so cool. Like, oh my God,
Let's
how
go.
cool is
Let's go. Germany, I mean, we both know it, so let's go.
So that's in Bielefeld?
Not in Bielefeld directly, but like maybe like a
Close.
50-minute
Oh
drive.
my goodness. But old European architecture, by the way, is mind-blowingly beautiful. And I mean, just to go back to the vampire thing as well, like for me, I have always said, I still say this, I sometimes wish I was a vampire. I mean, I love the darkness. I love the blood sucking. Like
That'd be
something about it
cool.
is so romantic to me, like eternal life, and like the dread of it. Like obviously I would never want to live
Hmm.
forever, but like the thought of having to live forever, like, oh my God,
Hmm.
what do you do in that time? So after a while, I can I can imagine why vampires in these stories always get very, I guess, controlled, and like, even if
Yeah.
they're evil, I say, or even if they're doing bad things, they kind of are controlled
Mm,
about it because they had enough time to control their senses. Like, I don't know, something about it is so
that's
romantic to
true.
me.
Yeah, I get what you mean, and I like the point that you brought up with like being controlled about things, even if it's like evil things that we consider evil, but maybe vampires do not. I don't know. I'm not one. or am I?
That's the plot twist
And
of the podcast.
yeah,
This is going in a
no, no,
different direction. Um, no,
no.
but
I
that's
think
so
that's
cool. Yeah.
yeah, that's a very good point. Like, and even something that makes sense to think about during our, especially comparatively short lifetimes that we have, like taking time to think about and like try to figure yourself out and be, yeah, controlled about stuff. Not, of course, still feeling your emotions, but I think to me it's a very important part of life to be able to live out the emotions, but still know that some things are just like some reactions are just made because of emotions and experience that we had before, but are not good reactions necessarily. And maybe take the time to reflect on that first before acting on it or reacting to whatever we feel like in that moment. So I think that's a very interesting and deep point that you brought up right now, that
Yeah.
is also, should also be, to me at least, part of my current life that is not going to be that long as the one of a vampire.
Yes, I mean, what you just described there is like the reason, the trauma response that people have in a day to day when
Exactly.
we think like, wait, that reaction is such an overreaction. And you might think that and it might look that way from the outside, but for that person, it's actually a very valid response to that specific trauma that triggered that specific emotion in them in that moment. I mean, that's a different conversation. But yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I wanted to ask you as well, because you said this might go in a different direction again, but I wanted to ask you, you said you wanted to leave Germany all the time. And I can very relate.
Yeah.
Oh my God, in my last episode as well, we talked a little bit bad about Germany, and I feel so sorry. Like, there's also great things about Germany. I don't want to be a Germany basher. Just for me, it was not the right place to live. And I wanted to ask you
Mhm.
why and how you felt there.
Yeah. So first of all, definitely Germany is a overall good place to live. And I am very grateful to be a German citizen because I have a lot of privileges that other people do not have and that I just probably still take for granted, even though I know I shouldn't. But it's just like, for example, in the EU, we can travel as much as we want without like needing a passport or whatever, and things like that. But yeah, going to over to your question, I guess to me it's mainly the society. Like nowadays, I of course speak mainly for people who are in my age range, so like in the late 20s, early mid 30s ish, because those are the ones that I have the most and intense contact with. And I notice, especially when going to like bigger towns, or not towns, cities, bigger cities, that it is it has gone, and that is very contrasty to Japan. So for maybe just to get everyone up to speed, in Japan, the society is very homogenous. Like everyone tries to take care of everyone else, like to make that to make everyone feel included. And to do that, everyone tries to be just like everyone else, kind of. And so it just gives you this homogeneous blob, which is to me, to a degree, sometimes a bit, for lack of a better word, sad to see, because expression, like individualism, is kind of lacking sometimes, especially when you go to like in the work environment and things like that. It's like everyone is out of the same mold, it feels like. As a person, they can be very different, but you probably know what I mean because you've been living and experiencing Japan just as I did and do. And for Germany, I think, especially in the last few years, it has gone the other way. Uh, but also to an extreme, to go over to the exact individualism. And again, while I do think individualism is good and important, like I obviously want to feel like myself and do what I like to do and express myself how I want to express myself, and be able to like vampires without anyone being like, why do you like vampires? Like, what? Just because, actually. But I feel like in Germany, it has gotten to a point, probably in other countries too, in maybe like the States, where people are like, yo, this is what I feel like, what I think like, and accept it. And if it hurts you, if it affects you negatively, I don't care. Like, deal with it. Like, that's your problem. And it's like, to me, going too much the other direction, like not caring about the others anymore, but just being about myself, being like, I have to be me. I don't have to care about what anybody else feels like. If it affects anyone negatively, that's their problem. They have to deal with it, not me. But at the end of the day, we as humans still live in a society. That's a meme for you.
Yeah.
We live in a society
We live in a
where we have
society.
to think of sorry, where we have to think of other people, and
Thank you.
and we have things that affect other people. So I think that is a very and way too egotistical way of thinking and living. And that's, I guess, one of the big things that I started to dislike about Germany and why I didn't feel at home there that much.
My God. I mean, just to answer that, exactly my feeling there, and other feelings as well, and other reasons for me as well as a Turkish immigrant child. It's been also difficult in a different way again. But yeah, that
I
what
can
you just said is
imagine.
so true. I mean, I honestly, I talked with someone about just this in one other episode, where I said, Japan has a lot of pressure on the individual so that the group works
Mhm.
smoothly. And harmony is a big word here. And so, I mean, literally the word wa for Japanese means
Yeah,
harmony. Like
yeah,
they literally identify with the word harmony. It goes through everything here. It starts in the morning when you commute to work. It starts with the way you put out your bin bag. Like it
yeah.
ends in the depth of human connection and the way that they raise their children, and then the workplace, as you said. So obviously, but what you just said there is so true. So sometimes I feel like this individual pressure, it can be a lot as well, because you
Hmm.
have to kind of function. And then at the
Hmm.
same time, though, the beauty of it, the reward for the pain of trying to fit in sometimes, or trying to control oneself for the good of, for the harmony of the group. The good thing about that is that in that moment, it works and everybody just
Yeah.
kind of gets along together, and there's not much crime rates or crazy things happening here, and it's very
Hmm.
safe and it's very predictable. I love the predictability about Japan. It's very, very safe for people who come
Yeah.
from trauma,
True.
specifically
True.
unpredictable
True.
trauma. People who have that kind of trauma, I think they would love Japan.
Hmm.
That's like a weird tangent there, but yeah, about Germany too. Like I used to be an Emirates cabin crew, so like sometimes for work I had to fly to Germany, and so. Oh my God, just the moment I landed, I was like, I cannot believe it's getting worse and worse. And like this individualistic, completely egotistical, I don't care about you at all, I just care about me kind of thing that's
Hmm.
happening there right now is it's gotten so bad about like
Hmm.
over the years. And because sometimes obviously I live outside of Germany, so sometimes I would go there and I would see the big difference in how people are, and like I would just go to a random coffee shop, I just wanted my matcha, and like I get screamed at for some reason that is not my fault. Or I remember after moving back from Fukuoka, so I moved back to Germany for the first time when I was 20. So I moved to Japan when I was 19, and then I lived for a year in Fukuoka, and I came back to Germany. So I was 20 years old, and for the first time after landing, I went to a supermarket to get some groceries. And the lady at the cash, at the checkout, there's this like, dude, 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 kind of
Yeah.
this thing that's moving. I forgot what it's called. And so,
Yeah.
and you have to be fast, right? So when they do it, you have to already like pack it in your bag. But I was still in the Japan mindset. So I was just standing there waiting for her to put it in the bag for me, right? We don't have this like moving thing in Japan. Mostly we don't. It's just they
Yeah.
pack it for you they
Yeah.
do it for you basically. So I forgot how to function. So I'm just standing there. And then she starts screaming at me from 0 to 1,000, like, if you don't put it in your bag, I cannot continue. And I started crying because I was so overwhelmed. I
I'm
was
so
like, I just
sorry.
came back from Japan and I'm already being bullied, by this German lady who hates her job, obviously. And like, she was like, what the are you? She was like, are you dumb? Like,
Oh,
why don't
that
you
is so
understand?
true. Yeah.
So this is also something like the thought, maybe she's not from here, or maybe she has a bad day. I don't know what she could have thought, but just a little
Mhm.
bit of maybe thoughtfulness,
Mhm.
it was a mess. And from that moment on, I was crying um to my
I'm
friends about like
sorry.
I want to go back immediately. So
Yeah.
it was just that, just that's a perfect
Yeah.
moment for me as an example of the gap and the difference between the highly toxic individualistic culture and then sometimes obviously in Japan the highly toxic kind of, it can become toxic to a degree
Mhm.
or it can become too much of this
Definitely.
community thinking.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah.
No, no. I get it. I get it. Yeah, I totally agree with you. And it's like it can go to either extreme, like it always can. Everything kind of is like on the spectrum, and you can go too far to one direction to go to the other one. And I think maybe you can agree with me on that. I think for me at least, as a gaijin here in Japan, I, privileged as I am, get the best of both worlds. Like I get to experience, and I don't get me wrong, I try to integrate as much as I can here in Japan as a foreigner because of course there's still, like in every country there's going to be some sort of racism. Maybe not as extreme as in other countries, but you'll feel it. Um and I try to integrate myself as much as I can, and I can benefit from this whole societal thinking. And usually everyone is very kind to me here as well, even though I'm not necessarily part of that initial homogenous group that is the Japanese people. But I am still, I at least feel most of the time very accepted here in Japan. And at the same time, I can get away with, for example, now the tats. I remember when I came here, I wouldn't have dared to show them because I know Japanese people think very different about tattoos. And I noticed at some point, like as a foreigner, I have this, and every other foreigner who's living here knows this, the gaijin card, and I can get away with so much stuff. For example, showing my tattoos, like people are not going to be like, oh, they might be like, oh, that's weird, but they're not going to assume the worst of me because they know I'm a gaijin and it's nothing unusual to have tattoos as a foreigner. And same with, for example, my Japanese. I can get along with my friends and like casual all day Japanese, but when it comes to like the whole keigo, being polite and like business Japanese, which is kind of not favorable for me because I have a business in Japan, but that's another thing. Like my business Japanese is not the best, but people are okay with it. Like, okay, he's a foreigner. He's just learning the language, and it seems like everyone knows, and even the Japanese agree that Japanese is a difficult language.
My God,
So,
all the time.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
I sometimes I mess up the keigo and they're like, "Oh yeah, we don't get it either." Like people don't understand keigo either in Japan
yeah,
even. Like
yeah.
people make mistakes. It's very difficult. The keigo means the polite language basically in
Hmm.
Japan. So yeah, absolutely. You get away with a lot of things. And then at the same time it's changing though, right? Like especially with the tattoos. My partner is Japanese and he has tattoos.
Hmm.
And so I think even now, still, even though the common idea that when people see tattoos are obviously
Yeah,
yakuza, the
yeah.
Japanese mafia, but it's a different style, obviously. So the yakuza is this very specific Japanese old style of tattooing.
Hmm.
And I love it, by the way. I love the artwork actually, but it's not
It's
very
amazing.
accepted here. But now in modern like people and a lot of young people have tattoos now, similar to like Western kind of style tattoos. And
Yeah.
my partner specifically loves the American traditional tattoos, so it
Mm,
doesn't look yakuza obviously, but still he gets stared at. And because he's Japanese, I think he's
definitely.
getting stared
Yeah.
at even more. So what you just said is absolutely true. I think you can get away with much more as a
Hmm.
foreigner here. And even business Japanese. I mean, I could, but I'm not going to always. It's just too much. I just want to talk more
It's
casual.
crazy.
Yeah, and like I often sit there in meetings and I apologize. I'm going to be like, guys, sorry. I know like my Japanese is a bit straightforward, but like sorry. So I just say that and then I just talk
Yeah,
how I want to talk
yeah,
and I kind of can get away with it. So people find it
yeah,
charming instead of impolite. But that's because I'm a
yeah.
foreigner and I know that. And it's also because I'm a girl, maybe. I don't know. I think there's many things that play into this, but I
Maybe,
am
yeah, yeah.
absolutely taking advantage of it.
Yeah. Definitely, especially what you mentioned with the like being straight and direct, and like just the fact that people here don't give you a straight up no. They imply a no, but they rarely say no. And I can just be like, nah, I'm out, or nah, I don't like that. Let's not do it. And everyone here, like my Japanese friends, they're okay with it. But if they would say it, especially to another Japanese person, would be like, what did you just say? It's like, wait, you said no? It's more of like a, how can you describe that to someone who doesn't speak Japanese? It's like a, as if you would say,
It's different.
let's say
Chigao.
someone asked like, oh, are you free on Saturday? And then you would be like, Saturday, and kind of just hoping that the other person then asks like, oh, okay, what about Sunday? Without like, and
Exactly.
we could just say, oh no, sorry, Saturday not good. Let's do maybe Sunday or whatever. But they're
Yes.
just like, Saturday, good question. Am I free? I wonder. And it's like kind of implying that they don't have time and they want you to
Yes.
ask for a different day.
Exactly. So it kind of is like the whole language actually depends on people really reading each other's minds and
Yes.
not even having to finish a sentence. And so
Mm-hmm.
the proper Japanese, the normal Japanese person would just jump in there like,
Mm-hmm.
and then they would already jump in and be like, oh, okay, it's difficult, maybe a different time, right? So you
Mm-hmm.
kind of have this whole culture and language around making people comfortable and not directly saying
Yes.
no. Like the word no is never used. The only Literally, I never heard it before in my whole life in Japan. I only see it on forms. If you have to say yes
Mm-hmm.
or no to
Mm-hmm.
something, it will say yes or no. But the word no in spoken language, it does not exist. I mean, honestly, it does not exist. People just say it's different or maybe a different time, or they
Yeah.
find
Yeah.
negating language, but they will never say no. And
Yeah.
this is
Exactly.
also a concept for Germans, where you have hundreds of ways to say no in German, you know? It's like
Yeah.
nö or nee or nein. You know, you have all of these different words,
Yeah.
even because that's how much Germans use the word no. So sometimes when
Yeah.
I was explaining that to my German friends, they were like, what do you mean they don't say no? How does that work? You know, it works actually, and it works
It,
very
it,
well.
it works, but as you said, you have to read in between the lines, and that's not always, especially if you're not fluent in Japanese and don't necessarily understand everything your conversation partner is saying. It's kind of difficult sometimes to get that they are alluding to wanting you to add something else, and then I have that sometimes. That I'm just staring at them. And they're staring at me, and I'm just waiting for them to continue, and they're not saying anything, and I'm not saying anything, and then we're just like in this standoff of like staring at each other. It's like, what is happening?
Awkwardness. But by the way, that's another thing. I mean, not this specifically, but Japanese people are very comfortable with silence.
Hmm.
Like, I don't know if
Hmm.
you've ever noticed that, but sometimes when you ask a question, they would just take away, they would just take a step back and just think. And they take
Yeah.
space for thinking. They don't feel like they
Yeah.
have to fill the silence. That's something I'm learning more. And like when I'm with my Japanese friend, sometimes we just sit there and like we think
Hmm.
about stuff and then we start
Mm,
talking. Like
mm.
it's a very different way of communicating, man. I mean, we could talk about this for so long, but before
Yeah.
it's almost an hour before we end it, I just
Damn.
wanted to ask you, because before we went on to the recording and we had
Yeah.
a little secret talk behind the
Yeah.
camera, I said to you, like, we talked about the vibe. Okay, I mean, I really
Hmm.
think about, I love creating a vibe for myself. So even if it's just a
Hmm.
cup, like for example, I'm still looking for a great cup, okay? Because we talked about design and you said
Yeah.
basically as an understanding of what I'm talking about, you just said basically that you would rather not have something than buy something you don't like. And so I was like saying to you, I was gonna say to you that the vibe is so important because, for example, when I
Mm.
drink my matcha, I'm still looking for a right whiskey glass. Like it has to be a whiskey glass. I'm looking for whiskey glasses that look really cool and like this crystalline thingy, and I want to
I'm
have
gonna
like my
send you. I'm
matcha.
gonna send you a link.
Oh, please. And I want to have my matcha in there because it looks so cute and it's a vibe. So I feel like
Yeah.
when I drink my matcha from that kind of glass, I'm just enjoying the moment. Like, I think that's so important. Do you know what I mean?
Mm. 100%. 100%. Yeah. Vibe. Vibe is a very good word for that, and I agree. The vibe is very important, and I'm same. Like I take my sweet time to decide to buy something. Like we talked about it before. I'm sitting on I don't know, a shelf that I want to buy, or like a chair for like a year maybe, to find the one that I like, instead of just having one to have one. I mean, if it's things that are necessary to have, of course I'm gonna buy something that I'm happy to not happy, but I'm able to compromise. Um, but usually I take my sweet time to decide on things, and it's, as you said, the vibe. Because for me, I want to feel comfortable whenever, wherever, and whatever I do. And it started with fashion. That's how I got into it, and started to accept that I have to probably pay a lot of money to find these things that I like a lot, because for some reason, for better or worse, I do like a lot of the designs that cost a lot of money, which is kind of annoying sometimes. But I'm also super cool and happy with it, because it allows me to create some very nice moods for me. And again, like, I'm happy to spend, maybe I don't even wait a year because I didn't know what to buy, but because I exactly knew what to buy, but I needed to save up the money to buy it. I'll do
Wow.
that. I'll save up for a year to just buy something that I love and not
But
have
I love
anything else for
that.
it.
No, but that's so cool because you are a designer yourself. So it's kind of like, yeah, I'm going to actually pay this designer for this thing, this piece of art,
100%.
actually, this piece of
Yeah.
design that I really love. So it's also like supporting each other as artists or supporting each other as designers. And I think that's really cool. Yeah. I mean, I told you I'm sitting on the floor right now for that exact reason.
Yeah, I
I'm
get
still
it.
thinking about which sofa to buy. Okay, man, Louis, it was amazing to have you on. I loved how the conversation was flowing. I hope you,
Yes, it was
yeah, I hope
great.
you liked it too. And I just wanted
100%.
to say, yeah, thank you so much for being on. And
Thank you for having me.
yeah, and I'm so excited. And yeah, thank you guys so much. This was the 4th episode of the Kotodama Podcast. If you like this, if there was anything in this episode that you learned or something that made you laugh or something that you found interesting and you like these kinds of conversations, maybe about Japan, maybe about all kinds of different things, please subscribe and share and like the video. It helps a lot with the algorithm. I'm still a growing little channel. So thank you guys so much for listening, and see you soon. Bye.
Bye.